Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and as you can tell, it's a little bit weird this time because I'm actually using a face cam for my voiceover for this one. So I did this over on Twitch, and when I was streaming, I literally was this close to the end of this build and the stream crashed. My whole computer crashed. It just went black and it turned off, which meant I lost my OBS recording of just the game footage. So the only footage I have left, at least thank goodness, is the footage that I had in Twitch, like from the VOD. So right now I'm filming this as a face cam voiceover because I'm inserting my face over my Twitch face. So I'm going to be covering up the overlay I have in Twitch with this voiceover instead. So that was a really fun time. I did get to redo the landscaping all over again. Luckily, I had been saving throughout, so I didn't lose a bunch of stuff for the house, just the outside foliage. So anyways, this is actually a base game reno for a house in Oasis Springs, and the name of this one is Granada Place. And I basically went in, gutted all of the items, and tried to again keep it fairly similar to how it was set up before, except I did move the kitchen, but I tried to keep it fairly structured the same. I did a little bit of rearranging upstairs, but I think it came out really nice, and I gave the outside a little bit of a facelift with some new, more modern colors. But here you can see that I'm working on the kitchen space, and this is actually what led me to doing like an orange kind of feel to this. So there's gonna be a lot of orange and blues throughout this build, especially like in the main living areas. So we have this really awesome, very spacious kitchen, as well as having a little like breakfast nook and a full dining room. This actually is a huge house, and I actually ended up making it 3 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. So there's plenty of space to have a bunch of Sims in it. So I figured there's space for like 2 parents, and then I figured like a teen room, and then also a kids room with 2 kids in it. So you'll see more of that when I actually get upstairs. But here I'm just kind of going back and forth on how exactly I want to set up this kitchen. I also randomly will go outside and work on the windows a little bit, just trying to make sure everything fits right with how I'm rearranging it, and that it also looks good outside, which was somewhat of a struggle because I left most of it as is, but I did replace some of them, and I did end up extending some portion of the house. Like for some reason, like the balcony on the left side wasn't fully extended out, and I always just thought that was really weird, so I moved that out so we had a little more room. But you can see here I'm just kind of cluttering up the kitchen a little bit, just adding a little more personality to this space. And I do end up actually forgetting to put bar stools at the bar. I do it later on, but like way at the end, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot this, and I didn't put a centerpiece on the dining table. I don't know what happened while I was decorating this space, but I do go back and put all of that in. And this is already up on the Sims 4 gallery if you want to download it under my ID spicensprinkles, all one word and all lowercase, and down in the description if you want to see it written out. And of course, as always, feel free to download it, change it however you need to for the sim that you are playing with. And this is base game, so anyone should be able to use it, especially now that the game has gone free. So I'm hoping there are a lot more new players, because that's always fun, more stuff on the gallery and just more ways to play. And so this here is actually the formal dining space, and it's kind of all really well connected. And I ended up trying to use this orange wallpaper. Don't worry, I changed it. I really liked the orange, but it was just a lot. I just felt like it was a little too much, if that makes sense. So I believe I changed it actually to a light blue or beige. I may have gone beige actually, because I also didn't want it to compete with the blue in the kitchen, like on the walls. I didn't want it to clash too much. But I did want this to be a really nice and spacious dining space, and I do end up flipping it around. So originally I was thinking that the table was going to be oriented like that, but I actually oriented it long ways against the windows because I couldn't center it the way I had made this space, and so I ended up flipping it because it really bugged me that the table was not centered with the windows on the front of this house, and I wasn't moving those windows because it just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. So anyways, we use the orange here actually at the table with the chairs, and I actually think it gives it a little bit like of an modern look to it, but I still think is really nice and not like cold, like modern, I feel like houses can be. And then just putting this little buffet like table thing over there. I feel like maybe that's where if you had company, you'd put food out so people can get to it, like that kind of thing. But I wanted to keep this like kind of simple, not super cluttered. Now, I cannot say the same thing for the upstairs kids room. The kids room is cluttered, but honestly, I love the way it came out. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with that space, but I'm really excited for when we get to that part of the speed build. And so just adding in a half bath here on the first floor, because it felt weird that was just like open, like in the original floor plan. So I just blocked it off and then made a nice little half bath, because honestly with Sims, you just can't have enough bathrooms. And so I actually converted this space into like an office, like piano room. I usually never use pianos because they're honestly just so big, but they fit really well in this build. And so I say they, like I put multiple, I only put one, but it actually fit really well in here. So I feel like this is a very artistic family, and there's a lot of like, actually I think there's 2 easels, and then I think I included a guitar, the piano, all that kind of good stuff. And also, if you can see the balloon behind me, please excuse the balloon just kind of swaying around everywhere. It's kind of been up since my birthday. Honestly, I probably need to take it out of here because it's deflating, so it's just moving around a whole lot, so sorry about that. But anyways, I'm just creating this really nice cozy office space. I don't know what the parents actually do for a living, but if they're really artistic, maybe painter, maybe like music composer or a writer, I feel like all of that would be really cool. But obviously you can use the space however you want to and play however you want to with this build. And then for this living space, it actually ends up being really spacious, and there's just being a lot of room, which honestly I think looked really nice. And I was very back and forth about like what color, how I wanted to utilize the blue and orange in here. And so you'll see me go back and forth between different like color swatches for the walls and the rug and the couch. And I decided that I really liked the orange swatch of this couch, and that's what I wanted to use. So I kind of went with that to guide me on how to choose the rest of the space. And I ended up using, I can't remember actually if it was beige or a blue wall. It's maybe actually be a beige and then a blue carpet, because I was again trying to use all of those colors in here, but I didn't want it to be like overdone and just like really loud, if that makes sense. And putting in an awesome fireplace. I wish the fireplace was one of the bigger ones, but the other bigger ones that were available in base game just didn't look quite right. And this one had like blue and orange already in it, so I decided to use that. And then just putting in a little table behind the couch with some lamps on it. And I did go back and forth about whether or not I should put 2 or 1 lamp, but I think I left it with 2 because I feel like 1 just didn't look quite right on that table. And then I just end up putting an easel over in the corner to like fill out that space and give your Sims something to do. And then just adding a little bit of clutter in here, but like not a ton, because again, I didn't want really that for that space, and base game just doesn't have like a ton of clutter, you know. And I feel like I've been doing a lot of base game builds recently, which I'm going to go back to my like full like all pack builds that I usually do, but I wanted to make sure to get some base game builds out for people that might be new to the community. And or even if you're not new and you only have the base game, because let's be honest, packs are not cheap. I mean, they cost money. So anyways, feel free to use this if you would like to. And then honestly, I kind of went back and forth about what to do here in the second floor. You can see that I actually have like all these rooms planned out, but it just felt like there was a lot of space. So I ended up actually redoing it just a little bit, so blocking off some space for the bathroom, and then that like master's bedroom, it's just like it ended up having this like L shape, which actually turned out nicely. And it was funny, I was actually trying to put in a closet a little bit later in that space, and I forgot that base game doesn't have those built-in closets that I think they came with. Let's see, I think it was Get Together is what those actually came with, or at least some of them did. So I had to go back to like the makeshift like clothes racks that we used to use before we had like the decorating packs and everything. So anyways, this took definitely a minute for me to figure out what I wanted, and figuring out actually how the balconies worked, because you couldn't even access all the balconies in this build, like the way they had laid it out, which honestly didn't make any sense to me. So All of the bedrooms have a balcony, which is like insane to me. But the kids' bedroom that I said had 2 kids in it actually has 2. It has 2 balconies, and that's why I was so back and forth on whether or not to make that a bedroom or to make that like a fun room, like a rec room kind of thing. But it seemed excessive since we already had a huge living room. There was already a big office and everything. Like, I don't know, and I felt like we needed a few more Sims in this house, so I ended up making it that 2 balcony room, a kid's room. So that's a very lavish room for kids, but that's the way it ended up. And then here, just working on like the parents' bedroom, I ended up going with a very neutral beige for this space because I didn't want to overdo the orange, and also just based on the beds we had available in base game, this one made the most sense out of all of them that kind of matched with the aesthetic. So here I'm just combining 2 dressers and putting up those like hanging closet things that we have in base game to make kind of a faux closet area. And then I put the entrance to the bathroom over on that side, kind of around the corner. I felt like that made a lot of sense there. And then putting in a shoe rack, I figured maybe that's where they store their shoes, although there's not that many shoes. And like, I guess there are some people that don't have a lot of shoes. I guess my husband doesn't have a lot, but like I have a ton, way more than I need. So I feel like realistically you would need more like shoe racks, but anyways, I digress about shoe racks and my personal preferences about shoe racks. But anyways, just adding a little bit of clutter here and there, but just not too much. And then I end up putting like a chair over in the corner, which I thought was really adorable. And then I actually took one of the ottomans and sized it down as like a small ottoman for the chair. So I know in other packs we actually have small ottomans that would have worked really well here, but since we didn't have one for base game and I really wanted an ottoman, I just shrunk one down and put it close over there, although they won't use it like an ottoman, although they don't use any ottomans like putting their feet up or anything, but that is there as a nice decorative piece so they can like read in peace and have some quiet maybe from the kids. And then actually in this bathroom we use the giant tub, which I thought was really cool in here, but we do end up actually having 2 showers in this house. So even if you don't want to use this bathtub, there are still showers, but if you have like a dog or you have toddlers in the house, having a bathtub is really useful. But of course, if you download it and you don't like it, you can just change it. But I like to take opportunities to use those big corner tubs when I have the chance, which is not necessarily like all of the time. And so here I'm just adding just a little seating area here. And then I was going to do that blue couch, but I wanted to keep it a little more modern and with the look of the rest of the house. And honestly, throughout this, I was a little bit concerned about the exterior of the house, and I kind of put it off as to how I wanted it to look, but I'm really happy with the way it came out. And I think just kind of changing the color slightly made a huge difference. And here we're actually creating the bathroom that is attached to the teens room, and they actually also have a balcony. And I'm thinking the teen is really into art and music, and so there's an easel out on their balcony because I figured that would be a nice place for them to go and paint. And honestly, I just really wanted to use that bed that looks like artwork on the comforter. I just really wanted to use it, so made a lot of sense if you make that sim interested in art, and that is why they have a random like painting on their bed. And so then just pulling a lot of those blues and yellows in for this build, and then adding in like a dresser. And I actually use those like funky yellow end tables in here as well, because I figured, again, I wanted this to be a teen room, so I didn't want it to look too adult. I wanted to have some like funky pieces and a lot of personality in it. So I added in those weird looking end tables, which honestly, I really like those end tables a lot. And I feel like they're not huge like a lot of the other end tables we have in the game. And then I do end up using this dresser several times in this build because it just worked really well. And then I ended up actually putting in a like gigantic stuffed bunny. I figured maybe that's just left over from childhood and they didn't want to get rid of it, so they kept it. And I put some like ribbons on the wall. Maybe they compete in art contests or music contests, like that kind of thing. And then just a backpack and again a guitar, so that they, you know, they have things they like to do. And I included that like movie show poster on the wall too. Figured maybe they like the art and the music from that show, or maybe they just like that show. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of making up like what I feel like this sim would be like. And this is the kids' room. You can see I'm pulling out like a bunch of beds, trying to decide what it is that I wanted to do. So I took a long time trying to decide what swatches looked like good together, but honestly, it came down to the fact that I really wanted to use that space themed bed. So I used it, and I didn't want it to be the same for both of them. So I just had two different beds, and honestly, I just divided this into two different kind of spaces. So you can see I'm kind of putting them like foot to foot, and then I end up putting a half wall in between. I was thinking about using one of those like room dividers, but as chat suggested, using a half wall actually worked out a whole lot better. And so they each have their own personalized space. And I feel like the one on the left like really likes the color purple, and they're really into space and science and robotics. And the one on the right is really into green, and they really like reading. So there's a lot of books over there and like posters that have to do with reading. And on the space side, we have some like robotic pieces and things that I just felt like would fit their personalities. Now, of course, you don't have to do that, but I really like trying to tie that in together with some of their interests. And so we have those cute posters with books, and like I can't tell if that's a dinosaur or like a bookworm. Either way, I thought it was just really cute. And then each of them got their own backpack, and so they each have their own space in this room, but then they do have some combined space as well. So like I end up putting a bookcase in the corner and some toys on the ground and like a dollhouse and a desk. Like there's so much in this room. Like I went crazy. And I feel like chat helped a lot with actually putting stuff in this room and having some great ideas for this space. And so over by the window, we end up putting in a desk, figure that somewhere they could work on their homework or journal, work on projects, you know, whatever it is that they are doing, but that they have so much room in here. And even the clutter on their respective dressers, I tried to keep like to what maybe they would have. So I think on the green side, we have like some books and stacks of books, like lots of books everywhere, but I put like those school books on both sides because I figured like they're gonna have like books like that, and they're gonna have school supplies, and just kind of keeping that a little bit separate. And then I included like that team photo on the space side. I figured maybe they went to space camp and like that's a club photo or something, and that's just something they like to keep, you know, on their side of the room. But like I said, having two balconies for this room is honestly insane. And I feel like maybe like in real life, if you had kids, you'd keep those locked so your kids aren't wandering out onto balconies. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't have kids, but I feel like that's what I would end up doing. But I just thought it was funny that they ended up with two balconies. I guess two balconies, two kids? I don't know. So then just putting in some more decorations. I figured maybe they have a frog in their room as their pet. And of course, if you have like cats and dogs, you can add pets into this house or laundry or whatever you want to do. And then I wanted to basically just put a ton of toys in here, lots of clutter, like, you know, they really like just have a ton of stuff. Like, and I feel like I do that a lot with kids' rooms. Like they just always are kind of cluttered and fun and bright and colorful. And honestly, I love doing them so much. And I think, what was it that I did was it a color challenge build? I can't remember. It was one of the build challenges I did. And I think it was that, yeah, I think it was the color challenge, because I got the color like brown for like a kid's room. It was like awful. I was like, really, like we don't have that many like cute brown colored like objects in the game like to make a kid's room. Like that was just, yeah, that took some creativity in order to do that. And then for their bathroom, I figured they have their own bathroom. So I have like two sinks in there, and it ends up being super colorful in here. I think I ended up using like the pink like shower tub combo, and then I ended up using like a green mirror, and I put that really cute like butterfly picture in here. Like I used this really cool rug that was like super colorful. I don't think I've ever used it before, but I feel like it looked really cute in here. So it was basically an explosion of color and just fun things in here. I really liked the way this bathroom actually turned out, and just adding in a bunch of clutter and, you know, just personalized touches for this space, being sure to include two towels because there are two of them in here. But I figured, you know, you would need some sort of organizer over the toilet to keep all of their separate like toiletries. Maybe they have different things that they like to use. And then here's at the point where I realized I did not put in bar stools or I didn't put in that centerpiece. So I was sure to go in and do that. So you will have those when you download it off the gallery. And then I just go in and actually start working on the balconies, and I end up making them fairly similar to one another. like just kind of using the pieces. I figured they kind of use it on, like the same stuff on each of them, except that on the teens balcony they have an easel out there that they can use. And I figured the kids balcony, like I thought about putting stuff out there, but again, like I don't know if you would have your kids just playing out on a balcony. I mean, maybe if you had like the toddler like or kid, what is it, little swimming pool thing, like maybe that could go out there if you have that in your game. But again, I just kind of kept them very similar to each other because I figured that just, you know, made sense that it all kind of went together. And we're slowly coming up on the portion when my computer crashed and I lost everything. So I got to landscape this lot 2 times. So I actually like got back on stream and ended up like talking to chat and trying to figure out like and remember what it is that I did, like where did I put what, and like so that I could recreate it because I really liked the way that it looked. And so changing the colors here like to a darker roof and then having some stone accents like in the balconies, I feel like added a lot so it wasn't quite as flat like the coloring, and then just lightening up the color that was used on the outside I think helped a whole lot. And then just adding some extra like trim accents everywhere I think helped as well. And I also realized that so the balcony on the back and on the front didn't have columns. Like I don't know how that's architecturally like sound. I don't know, like can you make balconies without columns? Like I just feel like it might be a little bit dangerous, so I do add those a little bit later on the front because I'd already did it on the back, but on the front like I was almost done with the build and I was like, oh my gosh, like why are there not columns on this balcony? Like I feel like that's a safety hazard. So I do add those in a little bit later, but I create this like wide path up to the front door. And then I end up actually using palm trees since there are palm trees around this lot. And it looked to me like it looked so good. Like I love the palm trees on this lot. I feel like it adds a whole lot to the landscaping. And then I actually sized up those like flower bush things that I use a lot in a lot of my builds because they're just a great item, and it made it just really lush and beautiful. Since this part of Oasis Springs like is very lush and gorgeous and green, it made a whole lot of sense to me to do that. And while this backyard is not huge, I feel like there's a lot of stuff in it. Like I even include a pool, a grill, like lounge chairs, tables, some planting boxes. Like there is plenty to do in this build. Like you really have like everything you want, I feel like. And you can add more stuff if you would like to, of course, change stuff, take out the pool, since, you know, Sims just will randomly drown. Like, so if you want to take out a pool, I know some people like don't like playing with them because their Sims just like go rogue and like jump in, and then the next thing you know, they are drowning, which is always really fun to get that notification popping up, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, your Sim is just like out in the pool and you had no idea. So anyways, just filling in a lot of the foliage that I had already done before. So that's kind of why I'm doing it very quickly because this is the second time I had to do it. But it was all good. Like I said, at least it was just the landscaping I had to redo, and I didn't lose all footage since I had footage from Twitch. Like, even though it wasn't the footage I used like at OBS, like I recorded separately so that I don't have like my face cam and everything in it. But anyways, it's all good. It worked out well. I really enjoyed taking screenshots for this. I ended up having like a lovely family that I downloaded the couple off the gallery, but then I added the kids to it. But anyways, be sure to stick around for those. We are getting close to the end of the speed build portion of this. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you want to see more like it, I would really appreciate it. And as always, down in the comments below, be sure to put any suggestions that you want to see on the channel. I would love to read through those. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.